multiple stereotype annotations. I will list them all today. Okay. At the rate component, at the rate service, at the rate repository, at the rate controller. These are the basic stereotype annotations. At the rate component is there to make Java class as Spring Bean class. That means it can create Java Bean. It can make IOC container to create object of Java Bean class, and can make object of Java class can make it as a Spring Bean, having given bean ID. At the rate service extension of at the rate component, but it makes Java class as Spring Bean come service class. That means we can enjoy extra transaction management support. At the rate repository, enhancement of at the rate component, guys, but it makes Java class as Spring Bean come DAO class or repository class. Nothing but it can convert the underlying JDBC exceptions to Spring specific exceptions. At the rate controller, extension of at the rate component, it can make Java class as Spring Bean come web controller class. That means it has got the capability of taking browser generated HTTP request, guys. And all these annotations should be applied at what level? Class level. All these annotations should be applied at what level? What? Class level. Then we have, yeah, then we have seen once these annotations are applied at class level, especially on user defined classes, but how does IOC container knows there are so and so classes annotated with stereotype annotation? So you have to inform IOC container through XML file, go to so and so packages, scan for the classes that are having what? Stereotype annotation, and make them as what? Spring Bean. So for that purpose, in Spring Bean configuration file, you should add context colon component scan tag boss, specifying the packages where all stereotype annotation based classes are configured as Spring Bean. But once you add this tag, indirectly you are also adding what? Context colon annotation config tag, so that the regular 7 annotations which are related to bean post processors will be activated automatically, including at the rate required, including at the rate auto. That's why if you add component scan, there is no need of adding what? Context colon annotation config tag separately. Then we have seen one example, and it's a flow of execution. I hope everyone connected back to yesterday's class, guys. Yes, boss. So let's get into today's discussion, boss. Yes, guys. In annotation driven, annotation driven Spring application development, in annotation driven Spring application development, try to observe very carefully, guys. If I configure Spring Bean without bean ID, if it is XML environment, fully qualified class name hash n is the default bean ID. But in annotation environment, it is little different, boss. Everyone please focus. For example, you take Flipkart got Java. I have configured as a Spring Bean, but no bean ID is given. I just written only at the rate component. I have just written only at the rate component. Are you listening my statement, boss? No bean ID is given. So what is the default bean ID? If it is XML1 fully qualified class name hash 0, hash 1, hash 2, number of times. But here there is no question of having multiple times with the same package name and same class name. So that's why it will just take it will just take class name as the default bean ID, having first letter as the lowercase letter. Having lowercase letter, first letter as the lowercase letter. You want to feel it? Okay. Now you observe com.nt.test, guys. So when I run this application, definitely exception will come because there is no bean ID with FPKT. Pre-instantiation of all singleton scope beans are happening. That's good. But when I'm trying to get bean ID, bean class object having FPKT, we got a exception. So that means it is running with the default bean ID. What is the default bean ID it is running? Let me comment this. Say paste FPKT. Here, what is the default bean ID? Class name itself bean ID was, but first letter, small letter. Flipkart, guys. Save this one. Run the application. Now you observe, guys. Now you observe. I'm able to get the. Now I'm able to get what? Flipkart class object. So tell me what is the default bean ID, guys? Class name itself acting as a bean ID, but F small letter. Suppose you take an F capital letter. You take an F capital letter, you will get again exception. So F becomes, that means first letter becomes lowercase letter. I hope you noticed this one, boss. Right. In annotation driven Spring application development. Okay. If no bean ID is given, the default bean ID is the default bean ID is no, that's the default notation it is taking. Why so means we cannot answer. In XML, why it is taking fully qualified class name hash 0? The same thing here. IOC can default means no explanation, boss. Int A, default value 0. Why 0 means what we can explain. Abhishek Singh, you have to use some common sense also sometimes. For example, instance variable int A, no value is given. Default value is 0. If you ask me why so, what can I explain? So default value means the value that comes automatically when no value is given, then it is called default. In different configuration, they have chosen different approach, guys. If no bean ID is given, the default bean ID is, okay, default bean ID is Spring Bean class name. Spring Bean class name. First letter in lowercase. First letter in lowercase. Example. Public class Flipkart. On the top of it, I have written component. Component. No bean ID is given. Now here regular story. Private courier. Courier. Here as usually we have written @auto-wide @qualifier @qualifier FedEx. Yes. Yes, boss. Sabita, if class is having multiple words, only first word, first letter is lowercase. Remaining all are as it is. Okay. Suppose class is having multiple words. Flipkart Courier. Let us assume class name is Flipkart Courier. Then only F small letter, remaining everything as it is. The default bean ID. The default bean ID is Flipkart. The default bean ID is Flipkart. Okay. If the Spring Bean class name is Flipkart Delivery, Flipkart, Flipkart Courier Delivery. Let us assume Flipkart Courier Delivery. Then the default bean ID is everything as it is, guys. Only first letter is lowercase letter. The default bean ID is this is the only first. This one is the bean ID. So though it belongs to package com.nt.beans, your package name does not matter, boss. Your package name does not matter. Only class name matters. Only class name matters. Are you observing that one point, guys? Only first letter becomes lowercase letter. Remaining letters will not become lowercase letters. I hope you noticed that one. Okay. Yeah, here no bean ID is given. Super, boss. This is a point one to concentrate, boss. Point two to concentrate is to specify spring bean scope. To specify spring bean scope, guys. Okay, spring bean scope. We can use @scope annotation. What annotation, guys? @scope annotation. Example, you take same thing. Public class Flipkart. Public class Flipkart. So to make it as spring bean, @component fpkt. Super. Next one, @scope. Default is anyhow singleton, boss. If you want to make it prototype, yes, we can go for prototype here. Here regular configurations will happen. So @scope is the annotation to specify spring bean scope, guys. I'm just revealing one by one, all annotations one by one. Don't worry. Here is the Flipkart, guys. Now this time I am giving bean ID, but I want to see it having what scope, guys. I want to see it is having what scope, guys. Prototype scope. Then you can mention scope here. @scope prototype. Now you observe. Now I commented everything I just created. I'm just creating IOC container, remaining accessing spring bean, everything I commented, boss. Now you observe, boss. See, only remaining 4 singleton scope beans are participating in pre-instantiation. Flipkart is not participating in pre-instantiation. Did you notice that, boss? Why? Its scope is prototype scope. I hope I already discussed only singleton scope beans will participate in what? Pre-instantiation. So since Flipkart scope I change it to what? Prototype, it is not participating in pre-instantiation. Did you observe that one, boss? Yes, boss. Remaining all fundamentals are same. Concept remains same, guys. Only the way we configure will difference. Suppose Flipkart scope I change it to singleton, and the DTDC scope I change it to prototype. DTDC scope I change it to prototype. Scope is equal to prototype. Scope is equal to prototype. Now tell me, guys, for Flipkart, DTDC is dependent or FedEx is dependent? DTDC is dependent, FedEx is dependent. According to our configuration, FedEx is dependent, right? Now tell me, now when I run this application, tell me, DTDC will participate in pre-instantiation or will not participate in pre-instantiation? I want reply. When I run this application, DTDC will participate in pre-instantiation or will not participate in pre-instantiation? Does not participate in pre-instantiation. Why? Why? Its scope is prototype and it is not dependent to singleton scope bin. Its scope is prototype and it will not participate in, it is not dependent to singleton scope. All basics, whatever we discussed, boss. Concept remains same. Observe, DTDC is participating in pre-instantiation? No. DTDC is not participating in pre-instantiation. But now take this one, go to FedEx. Take this one, go to FedEx. Enter. Now tell me, guys, FedEx will participate in pre-instantiation or not? Yes. Why? Why? It is made as dependent to what? Singleton scope bin. Since it is taken as dependent to what? Singleton scope bin. Are you observing my point, boss? Yes, guys. All fundamentals remain same. Because of annotation configuration, basics will not change, boss. Basics will remain same, boss. I want you people to recognize that. Okay, boss. Next, this is to specify the scope, guys. It's a standalone environment. As of now, only two scopes we can specify. One is singleton, one is prototype. If no scope is specified, what is the default scope, guys? Singleton, guy. Okay. You try to specify any web-related scope here. It's a standalone. I'm trying to specify request. I'm trying to specify request. Observe this one, boss. Observe this one. Oh, where is this? Where I have mentioned? Oh, prototype DTDC request. See, when I run this application, still DTDC is not participating. It is just ignored. This time error has not come, but this time it is just ignored. Only web, it is standalone environment and we can test only standalone scopes over here. And remaining all the scopes, whatever you give, that will be just ignored, boss. Is that clear, boss? Right. Sir, I don't want to specify scope, but I want to disable pre-instantiation of singleton. Pre-instantiation of singleton scope bin. If it is XML, we have lazy in it. I hope you remembered. How to disable pre-instantiation on singleton scope, guys? Number one, by changing scope to prototype. No, I want to maintain singleton, but I want to disable pre-instantiation. If it is XML, we have lazy -init is equal to true. But in that place, here they have come up with @lazy. What is that, guys? @lazy. Okay, now listen carefully. Right now, which beans are participating in pre-instantiation? all beans are participating in pre-instantiation. All 5 beans are participating. Okay, why blue dot singleton, DTDC singleton, first flight singleton, Flipkart singleton? Why FedEx? Because FedEx is dependent to singleton scope Flipkart. Okay, now I don't want to see any lazy pre-instantiation on blue dot, even though its scope is what? Singleton. Then what should I do? Okay, go to blue dot, guys. @lazy. There is no lazy in it, guys. Just directly we are having @lazy annotation is there. Okay. Now strategy DP with this. Now you observe blue dot is not participating in pre-instantiation, though its scope is singleton. See what is the default scope of blue dot, guys? Singleton. But does it participating in pre-instantiation, boss? No. Why? Because we disable lazy instantiation of singleton scope bean by writing @lazy. Okay. This is the another point that I want to give. Okay, guys. Okay. To disable lazy instantiation of singleton scope bean. Sorry, to disable pre-instantiation singleton scope bean and to enable lazy instantiation. To enable lazy instantiation, creating singleton scope Spring Bean class object. Spring Bean class object only on demand. Okay, we can use lazy annotation. We can use @lazy annotation, boss. Okay. Public Flipkart. Here is my component fpkt @scope. Default is singleton only. @lazy. Remaining all things are normal. Yes, here the point I want to highlight is what? This. Okay, boss. So here what I want to say, @scope is equal to scope attribute. Bean tag. Next, @lazy is equal to lazy-init is equal to true. Lazy-init is attribute of bean tag. Okay. All stereotype annotations are equal to, all stereotype annotations are equal to bean tag. Yeah. See, at the rate component, at the rate service, all these are alternate to bean tag only, na boss. All stereotype annotations are equals to bean tag itself. I hope you are observing that mapping, boss, the way I'm linking XML and annotations, boss. Right. So now listen carefully. Open Spring Bean configuration file. Open Spring Bean configuration file. Component scan. Observe, observe the documentation properly, guys. Everyone, please observe the documentation properly. Scans class path for annotated components that will be auto registered as Spring Beans. By default, the Spring provided @component, repository, service, controller, REST controller, controller advice, and @configuration. What, guys? @configuration. Stereotypes will be detected. Stereotypes will be detected automatically. If someone asks you list of stereotype annotation, you have to write these 7: component, repository, service, controller. I already introduced. REST controller you will get in Spring REST. Controller advice you will get in Spring REST. And @configuration you will get in the coming classes. @configuration you will get in the coming classes. Are you understanding my statement, guys? Okay. Right now, wantedly I didn't introduce all stereotype annotation at a time. In future, we are going to get some more stereotype annotation. But if someone asks you, list out all the stereotype annotation, you have to list out these 7 stereotype annotation. Are you understanding my statement, guys? Yes. List out all stereotype annotations. List of all stereotype annotations. Yes, I'll just introduce what is what. We will enhance them. We will elaborately study them in the coming classes. @component, guys. @service. All are internally extension of @component only. All of them are directly, indirectly can be used to make Java class as Spring Bean, boss. First Java class as Spring Bean on the top of some extra features. @component, @repository, @controller, @REST controller, @REST controller, @controller advice, @configuration, @configuration. @configuration. Yes, these 3 are extra, guys. Will be discussed in future. I hope you are understanding my point. If someone asks a list of stereotype annotation, you have to write all this stuff. But see, in Spring programming, we generally use this one, guys. These 2 things we use in Spring REST programming, and this one we use in 100% code driven configuration, and in Spring Boot also indirectly we use, boss. In Spring Boot also indirectly we use, boss. Okay, right. So 1 minute, I will highlight these two things related to Spring REST. Related to Spring REST. Next one, configuration. Related to 100% code driven Spring application development and Spring Boot application development. Spring Boot application development. Yes, boss. Okay, guys. Are you understanding my statement, boss? Okay. Interviewer asked, someone asked me one question. Can I use @service instead of @component? Can I use @service instead of @component? Are you listening my statement, boss? If interviewer asks the question, what should I do? Answer is yes, but not recommended. Array, @service anyhow internally having @component now, boss. It will definitely work. But you are using big annotation for small purpose. You are using big annotation for small purpose. Your application is not a layered application. You don't want any transaction management. So then what is need of going for @service? Happily go for @component now, boss. It's not like that you will get error. Application happily runs. For example, you observe instead of @component fpkt, I will write what? @service or @repository or @controller also I can write. But it's like using big annotation for a small purpose. So that's why you can use but not recommended. See these guys, strategy design pattern. This will not change at all. Check it out. Still Flipkart class object is created or not. Okay, you want to see complete application execution? Yes, you observe complete application execution also takes place. So no doubt in that. Everything happens nicely, boss. Okay. Answer. Yes, we can use, but not recommended. Yes, we can use, but not recommended. Not recommended. It is like using big annotation for small purpose. Small purpose. Okay. Use @service in layered application to make Java class as Spring Bean come service class and to apply transaction management support. Transaction management support. transaction management support. Right. Yeah. Now next one. Can I use component instead of reverse? I am asking instead of service. What do you say, guys? Okay. Can I use component instead of service? Answer. Answer. Yes, we can use. Yes, we can use, but not recommended. Not recommended because we need to. Yes, we can use, but not recommended because we need to take care. We need to write additional configurations, additional configuration to apply transaction management separately. Separately. If Java class is taken as Spring Bean come service class. Service class. I hope you are understanding my statement, guys. Okay, use right annotation at right place, boss. Right annotation at right place. But all these are the interview questions. To confuse you, you will ask. So, to confuse you, you will ask, can I use that annotation here, this annotation here, this annotation here? Yes, you can use, but not recommended. Yes, you can use, but not recommended. Are you understanding my statement, boss? Right. Now, everyone, please focus now. Right now, if you observe this application, guys, I'm sticking to component only. Control plus shift plus O. I'm sticking to component only. Everyone, please, I'm launching new discussion. This is very important. At the rate FP, DTDC, boss. Okay. What is my dependent? FedEx. What is my dependent? FedEx. If I want to change FedEx to DTDC, again I am touching the source code or not? Again I am touching the source code. Again I am losing loose coupling. Or in XML we got loose coupling. Again we are losing that loose coupling. Did you notice that? In annotation again we are losing loose coupling when I want to move from one dependent to another dependent. Now run the application. Application happily runs. This time it will take DTDC as the dependent. No doubt in that. But what is the problem, guys? What is the problem, guys? We are touching the source code of the target class. Did you notice this? This headache was not there. This headache was not there while working with XML. Because we can touch the XML to move from one dependent to another dependent. But after moving to annotation, okay, because we are specifying what dependent we want through qualifier, and there is a qualifier is written directly in the target class. To change from one dependent to another dependent, we are forced to modify the source code of what? Target class to move from one dependent to another dependent or not. So annotations are looking great, but again they are forcing us to go for tight coupling or not. Again they are forcing us to go for tight coupling or not. Sir, how to sort out this problem? How to sort out this problem? You have to sort out this problem with the support of properties file. No, with the support of properties file and alias names. We can provide alias names also, the Spring Beans, boss. Along with the bean IDs, we can provide our choice alias names. Okay, bit different, bit complex. I want everyone to practice, everyone to focus. I will take another copy of same project, guys, because runtime I want to decide the dependent. In annotation driven environment, I want to decide the dependent at runtime. This is very, very important interview question, boss. In annotation driven environment, how do you decide dependent at runtime? How do you decide dependent at runtime without touching the source code of Java classes? This is the interview question. Are you understanding my statement, boss? Okay, that's why I'll take the same setup, copy paste, IOC pros 52 NO, okay, 16 NO, strategy, all these are fine. Okay, here I just write stereotype annotations, stereotype annotation, okay, runtime, okay, runtime dependent. What is this, guys? Runtime dependent. 16 or 17? I think it is going to be 16 only, boss. Okay. A runtime dependent. Yes. A runtime dependent. Close it, guys. Close it. Okay, 2, 3 new concepts will come. Be careful, boss. Right. Now here, please observe this. We have 215 projects. Okay, we'll change it. What is there in that? Here I am taking 16, boss. Here I am taking 16. Here I am taking 17. Yes. Okay, straight away I will not give answer. I'll give answer in a first problem solution kind of thing. Everyone please focus. So no doubt. Okay, what is the question, guys? In annotation driven Spring programming, in annotation driven Spring programming, how can you change? How can you change dependent Spring Bean, dependent Spring Bean for target Spring Bean? Okay, without touching the Java source code of Java source code, without touching the Java source code. This is the question. Yes. See, guys, I know everyone goes to properties file. So now I also take one property file here. As we did in strategy design pattern, in XML level strategy design pattern, I know you also will be tempted to take one properties file. Yes, I am also taking one properties file. Yes, boss. Commons. Generally, we take property file in commons package. So there I am adding one property file, info.properties. I'm taking one file, guys. This is not solution. This is problem. I will improvise and I will give the final solution. Here is what? Info.properties. What dot properties, guys? Info.properties. That's cool. Here I will take my choice dependent. I'll take my choice dependent. What is this? My choice key, guys. Courier.id is equal to DTDC. Dependent Spring Bean. dependent Spring Bean. What I have taken, courier.id is equal to DTDC. That's fine. But first of all, I have to configure properties file now, boss. I'm coming to application context.xml, boss. How to configure properties file? To enable, this is to enable component scan on Spring Beans. This is to enable. Next one, to configure properties file. To configure properties file and to recognize placeholders. To configure properties file and to recognize placeholder. I think you remembered all this stuff. Property placeholder, guys. Here we are having location. In this location, you have to specify com/nt/commons/info.properties. I think you remembered this. I want everyone. I want. I hope you recognized this one, boss. Yes, boss. Now listen. This already we discussed, boss. This already we discussed. This tag we already discussed. This will recognize this one. So what is now your thought? What is your thought, guys? Go to Flipkart class and in the place of DTDC, you want to specify the bean ID. As a placeholder, we want to specify the bean ID. Yes, na? So this is the general thought, what we get. Courier.id. I think you are thinking to do exactly this one now, boss. You are thinking to do exactly this one. Come on. In the properties file, courier.id is having DTDC, and you will think that it will replace courier.id with DTDC so that DTDC object will be injected. Are you listening my statement, guys? Right. Now you try to run this application, boss. You try to run this application by going to client plot, strategy design pattern. Everything is same, guys. Nothing is modified except dependent. Java application. Observe very carefully. Observe very carefully. Pre-instantiation is happening. Read the error. FPKT, unsatisfied dependency expressed through field courier. No such bean definition exception. No qualifying bean of type courier available. Expected one matching. And it is still saying that I am not able to inject. See this, guys? It is not replacing with placeholders, guys. Did you notice that? Still it is taking courier.id as it is. Okay, let's check for the spell also. Courier.id DTDC. Here also courier.id DTDC. Are you observing that point, boss? Pravalika, here dot properties extension is required, definitely required. Only in internationalization dot properties is not required. Are you observing my point, guys? Array, are you observing this point, guys? Okay, but it's not like that we cannot inject that one. See, you try to inject to other string property, boss. You try to inject that value to other string property. By using @value annotation, you try to inject that one too. Suppose suppose private string name I am taking. Private string name I am taking. You have other one you try to inject. Okay, my dot name is equal to Raja. My dot name is equal to Raja. And you observe here, boss, at the rate value, or if it is a simple value to inject, we have to use at the rate value annotation. It's not like that it is not recognizing property file. It's not like that it is not injecting what? Value collected from property file to bean property. But we have to use what annotation? At the rate value annotation. So now you observe here, at the rate value, okay, at the rate value, dollar floor bracket, my dot name, dollar floor bracket, my dot name, enter key. Okay, now let me check whether it is injecting that name value or not. Systrace. Okay, I just want to check whether name value is injected or not. Okay, see boss, whether at the rate value is now trying to inject to name prop. Strategy DP test guys, AC. Strategy DP test guys, AC. 1 minute. I will not keep this qualifier. I will keep regular DTDC only. Please, you don't give up. DTDC. I'll solve the problem. I'll solve the basic problem. See these guys? Raja is injected or not? What is injected, guys? Raja is injected or not? That means if you want to inject any property file info, any Spring Bean property, we should use what annotation, guys? At the rate value annotation. I hope you are understanding that. We have to inject what, guys? At the rate value annotation. Yes, at the rate dollar. Dollar is the placeholder symbol, my dear. This is placeholder. Dollar symbol is part of the syntax. Mr. Subangi, attend classes regularly. You cannot question dollar symbol now. That is a placeholder. That's a placeholder. It's a part of the syntax. In XML also we have used that dollar symbol. Practice, man. Mr. Subangi. Now you cannot question what is dollar symbol. Dollar symbol is part of placeholder syntax. I hope everyone remembered that. Okay, guys. Now listen carefully. So in this process, we understood one thing, guys. After configuring properties file, if you want to inject any value to Spring Bean property, we should use at the rate value. Come on, guys. We should use what? At the rate value. Can I apply same theory over here? Because when I write at the rate qualifier, DTDC directly it is taking. But when I take directly bean ID, courier.bean ID, it is not taking. Maybe it is expecting what? At the rate value there. Are you listening my statement, boss? At the rate value there. So can I write like this, boss? At the rate value, inside the double quotes, I will write like this. Inside the double quotes, I will write like this. Manoj Gayatri, it is not a web application. Why are you thinking about HTML files, stupid fellow? Mr. Whoever it is a standalone application. Why are you thinking about HTML file, boss? Please focus, guys. Please focus. Why all of a sudden you are thinking about HTML file here? Am I developing web application here? What's happening, guys? What's happening, guys? Forgot all fundamentals because of 1 week gap. Right, everyone, please come back. It's not a web application, it's a standalone application. And moreover, here, dependent should be decided by the programmer, not the end user. As Flipkart as a company decides the dependent, it's a server side operation. It's no way related to end user operation. Are you listening my statement, boss? Flipkart should use which courier is a server side operation, is not an end user operation. So then why are you expecting from .html file scanner classes? Don't expect. It's a purely server side activity. It's a purely technical programmer operated server side activity. Are you listening my statement, boss? Yes, listen carefully. If I try to write @value courier, again we are getting syntactical error. That means @value is not allowed to apply like this also. Are you listening my statement, guys? Okay. Maybe sir extra double quotes. Okay, I remove these double quotes. Here also I remove these double quotes. Okay, now you observe @value control plus shift plus O. And it is saying that mismatch cannot convert value to string. Qualifier says I expect string value, but here you are keeping annotation. But if I keep double quotes, syntactical problems are coming. If I keep double quotes, syntactical problems are coming. So that means what? There are some issues to utilize @value in combination with @qualifier. So that means this thought also ruled out. Are you listening my statement or not? Even this thought also ruled out. Hard coding directly working out, but collecting from property file with the support of @value or without having support of what? @value is also giving problem. Are you listening my statement, boss? So now we have to find out solution for this one, boss. Everyone please focus. Everyone please focus. There is a tag called alias tag. Yes, listen. I'm giving all wrong possibilities, boss. Whatever thoughts you get, all the thoughts I'm trying to implement to tell that they are not going to work out. Are you listening? We tried all permutation and combination, whatever thoughts you basically get. They are not working. Now we have to find out real solution. Are you ready for the real solution, my dears? Are you ready for the real solution? Okay, the real solution is very, very simple. How about using variable like name within? Array, okay, someone asked me this question also. Listen carefully. Okay, someone has given one more thought. Listen, everyone, please focus. One more thought they are giving. So now, what is the thought they are having? You write @qualifier, sir. You write @qualifier. And you place a variable. First of all, you place a variable where that bean ID is read. Okay, I will do that also. So for example, so this bean ID, courier.id, I am reading to one variable. Okay, I will apply that thought also. Don't worry. Private string ID. Private string ID. @value dollar. Are you listening my statement, boss? @value dollar flower bracket courier.id. Courier.id. Yes, you are talking about this thought. And you pass that ID here. You pass that ID here. Yeah, when you try to pass that ID here, you have to pass within double quotes. When you pass within double quotes, what happens, guys? ID itself will be taken, or value injected to ID variable will be taken. Everyone, please come back. See, guys, thought is what? You inject ID to ID variable. Come on. You inject ID to ID variable and you pass that ID variable name here. When you pass ID variable name without double quotes, it is syntactically invalid. Come on. It is syntactically invalid. Why? Because here you have to pass string only. Come on, guys. So that's why you have to pass what? ID within double quotes. When you pass ID within double quotes, this variable value will be taken, or ID itself will be taken as value. ID itself will be taken as value. Come on, guys. But you want ID itself as the value, or ID collected from the property file? ID itself as the value, or ID collected from property file? We don't want ID itself as the value. We want to get ID value collected from the properties file. So that's why even this option also ruled out or not. Even this option also ruled out or not. Come on, guys. Even this option also ruled out or not. Are whatever thoughts you get, they will not work. That's what I'm trying to say. Whatever basic thoughts you get to collect the bean ID, dependent bean ID from property file in combination with the @qualifier will not work. There is other solution. That is what I am trying to say. Are you understanding my statement, guys? What is the first possibility we worked out? What is the first possibility we worked out? This one. Directly writing this one. Whether it will work out or not, it has not worked out. Leave it. Next, we used it with in combination with @value. That is also not working out. That is also not working out. Later we injected to one simple property and we try to pass that variable, but variable it is not taking. In combination with variable also not working. I hope you remembered that point also. Okay, what is that? String ID. String ID. Here, what is this? @value. Even this combination also we tried, boss. Courier dot ID. Come on, guys. Even this combination, and we try to paste same variable ID over here. @qualifier. @qualifier. Here, I am trying to put what? ID. I'm trying to put ID. When I try to put ID without like this error. Why? Because it is expecting string only. If I try to put like this time what happened? It will take ID itself value, not the sorry, when it is taking DTDC itself as a bean ID, here also it will try to take ID itself direct value. So even this is also not working out. I hope you are understanding. What is the final solution, sir? You tried a number of permutation and combination, nothing is working out. What is the final thing that will work out, sir? Okay, now everyone please focus, guys. First of all, you should understand one tag called alias tag. Alias tag means it is there to provide extra bean ID for the given bean ID. Alias name was terrorist people. In the childhood, you will be having extra alias names, na boss. Chinna, Munna, Kanna. Terrorist people, Naxalite people will have extra names or not. So for bean ID, we can give extra alias names, boss. For bean ID, we can give extra bean IDs also. For bean ID, we can give extra bean IDs. First of all, you should start giving that one. Okay. Now listen carefully. There is a tag called alias tag. Okay, super. Now listen. Alias name. For which bean ID you want to give alias? For which bean ID you want to give alias? DTDC. Okay, what is the new alias name you want to provide? What is the new alias name you want to provide? Are you listening my what is the bean ID? What is the bean ID? DTDC is the bean ID. This is the bean ID, right? So same thing I have mentioned. What is the alias name you want to provide? The alias name that I want to provide is DTDC. Okay, DT. I'm just writing DT. Okay, DT I am providing as the alias name. Are you listening my statement, guys? I'm providing what as the alias name, guys? DT as the alias name. What as the alias name, guys? DT as the alias name. Is that clear, guys? DT as the alias name. Yes, you have to involve XML. You have to involve XML. No option. You have to involve XML. Or in Spring Boot, we have a concept called profiles. That's one more solution. In Spring Boot, we have a, yes, immediate solution is working with XML. But in future, I will introduce a concept called profiles, boss. Spring profiles. Using that also, we can solve this one. Okay, for the time being, you try to observe the XML based solution, because in annotation driven Spring programming, still XML touch is required, as I discussed earlier. See guys, alias name DTDC. Okay, DT. Now listen carefully. So we got one extra alias name. Are you noticing it, guys? We got one extra alias name here. Super. So now go to properties file, guys. Okay, now go to this Flipkart one. Now you go to this Flipkart one. Okay, here what I am taking, DT only I am taking. What I am taking, guys? DT I am taking. Are you listening my statement, boss? Courier.id is equal to DT. Courier.id is equal to DT. Now come here. Now come to Flipkart, guys. Forget about all these qualifiers. Just write only one thing. What is that? At the rate qualifier. Don't write the bean ID, write the alias name. What is that I am writing? DT. Am I writing bean ID or alias name? Am I writing bean ID or alias name? Alias name I am writing. Right now that is the alias name for what, guys? DTDC. Right now that is alias name for what, guys? DTDC. So indirectly what is happened? DTDC is injected in the qualifier or not? Right now that is alias name for what, guys? DTDC. So indirectly DTDC is injected or not? Now you run the application. Strategy account design pattern. You observe this. Application is running with what, guys? DTDC. Application is now running with what, guys? DTDC. Did you notice that, boss? Did you notice that? No, I don't want to work with the DTDC. I want to work with the blue dot. Now come here. Come to application context.xml. Okay. In the place of DTDC, you give the bean ID of blue dot. You give the bean ID of blue dot. What is the blue dot bean ID, guys? What is the bean ID of blue dot, guys? Dhruv Kumar, you are still not catching the actual point. Okay, B dot. So here is my what? B dot. See guys, am I touching a Flipkart class? Am I touching Flipkart class or am I touching XML file? Now observe, I'm changing DTDC to blue dot. I'm changing DTDC to blue dot. Did I touch my XML Flipkart.java file, guys? Did I touch my Flipkart.java file, guys? Dhruv Kumar, first focus. Dhruv Kumar, I am not touching Java code. I am touching XML file. If you focus, you will understand. Okay, guys. Am I touching this one? Okay, now I change it to blue dot. Now you run the application. Now you run the application. So now it is running with what, guys? Blue dot. Now you run with what? Blue dot. So now see, there is no need of touching property file. By linking with property file, you have to go for XML only. No, we definitely required property file here, boss. Yeah, now listen carefully. Listen carefully. Property file is required. Property file is required. Yeah, you may try without property file also. It's not like that. You may try without property file also. Okay, guys. Now listen carefully. Sanjay Jadhav, we never create objects in IOC container manually. Please show some maturity. IOC container only should create target and dependent class objects. Everyone, please focus, guys. Okay, now I don't want to work with. Okay, guys. Now listen. Now I don't want to work with the blue dot. I want to work with what? FedEx. Then where I have to modify, guys? Here I have to modify. I don't want to modify. Listen carefully. Okay, here I am taking what, guys? FedEx. Here I am taking simply what? FedEx. Okay, let's have a look on this. Click on this. And happily it is working with properties file or not. So now it is dealing with what, guys? FedEx. Now it is dealing with what, guys? FedEx. Are you listening my statement, boss? So that means you have to work with XML story, boss. You have to deal with XML story. With alias name tag, we have to solve the problem. Okay, now I will comment this property file stuff. I'll comment this property file stuff because we are dealing with just alias name, guys. So now I'm commenting this property file stuff. Okay, guys. Now you observe this strategy, this one. So now it is dealing with what, guys? FedEx. No, I don't want to work with FedEx. I want to work with the DTDC. You pass the bean ID of DTDC. That means here property file is required or not required? Not required. With the support of alias name, directly we can solve directly by using XML itself. Are you listening my statement, boss? Strategy. See, guys, this time it is dealing with what, boss? DTDC. This time it is dealing with what? DTDC. Then why did you introduce property files, sir? Because in XML we solve the problem through properties file. I thought you will try to apply the property file. Here property file is not required. Through XML file itself, using alias name tag, we can happily sort out the problem. Using alias name tag, we can happily sort out the problem. Are you observing? Are you observing my point here, guys? Here property file is not required. Is that clear? So that's why I'm removing these comments, boss. See, generally when we get this problem in annotation, in standalone environment, we have taken the support of property file. Here you need not to think. Here we can happily solve the problem only through what? XML file. Are you understanding my statement here or not? Dhruv Kumar, we cannot pass directly from the properties file. That's what I tried. That's what I tried and shown the error. @qualifier is not taking any placeholders. Mr. Dhruv Kumar. Are you listening my statement, boss? Yes. In annotation driven Spring programming, how can you change dependent Spring Bean for a target Spring Bean without touching the Java source code? So shall we go for it now? Answering. If okay, if all Spring Beans are configured using stereotype annotations, if all Spring Beans are configured using stereotype annotations, then we can perform the following steps. We can perform following steps to change the dependent dynamically. To change the dependent dynamically. Step number one. Step number one. Keep any strategy DP application ready. Strategy DP application ready. Step number two. Step number two. Provide alias name. Provide alias name tag. Provide alias name for the provide alias name for the provide alias name provide alias name for the dependent bean by specifying its bean ID. By specifying its bean ID. By specifying its bean ID. Where is this XML file, guys? Here is there. in application context.xml. In application context.xml. Yes. Bean ID alias is equal to. Okay, let me use the word CR to avoid the confusion. CR means courier, boss. And let me use the word courier. Now this can be changed with different values, as you know that DTDC can be replaced with B dot. B dot can be replaced with FedEx. Like this, we can change it, boss. Yes, boss. Next one, step number 3. Step number 3. Place the above generated alias name in the qualifier tag of above. Place the above generated alias name in @qualifier annotation of target class. @qualifier annotation of target class. Yes, boss. Okay. These many things are there. Copy this, boss. Yes, boss. All these are not required. @component Flipkart. Okay. Remaining all things are knowledge sake I have given, boss. Yes. What is this? CR. Here is what? CR. CR. Step number 4. Run the application. Run the client application. Right. Now you may ask me one small question. Yes, you may ask me one small question. Sir, earlier you have changed here. Okay, 1 minute. Application. What is the alias name I have taken? CR. And the same CR I am reflecting over here or not? See, you can take any alias name, boss. Okay. See, why I'm taking CR is very simple. CR means courier. DT means what? It's sounding only for DTDC. So that's the reason I'm taking CR. Okay, now all these are not required, boss. Leave it. All these are not required. Sir, I have a small question now. What is the difference between directly typing DTDC and CR here? Here now CR is fixed, boss. Now I am not going to touch this CR. Now you observe. Right now, what is my dependent? Right now, what is my dependent, my dear? DTDC. So tomorrow I want to change DTDC to blue dot. Am I going to touch? Am I going to touch my Flipkart class, or here I am going to modify? Suppose here I have written blue dot. Here I have written blue dot. Okay, now just have a look on this. Now it is now running with blue dot. Am I touching source code of Flipkart class, guys? Tight coupling is gone or not gone? Only we have to modify application context.xml. No, I don't want to work with B dot. I want to work with FedEx. I want to work with what? FedEx. So now strategy design pattern. Observe this. Again, now it is working with FedEx or not? No, I don't want to work with FedEx. I want to work with First Flight. Am I touching Flipkart class or am I touching XML file? Am I touching Flipkart class or am I touching XML file? I'm touching XML file. Did you notice this one was? Okay, guys. F flight. F flight. Observe this. Now it is working with first flight or not? I think you now observe a loose coupling with the support of alias tag, guys. With the support of alias tag, I hope you observe the loose coupling. Yes. What's the use of alias tag? Alias tag provides additional bean ID for the given bean ID. Alias tag provides additional bean ID. Additional bean ID for the bean ID. Bean ID oblique name for the given Spring Bean ID. Spring Bean ID. Okay. We can access and identify. We can identify and access. We can identify and access Spring Bean either using direct bean ID or using its alias names. Or it's using alias name. Okay, now that means DTDC bean ID can be identified with DTDC or CR, B dot or CR, FedEx or CR. So I'm keeping CR fixed so that I can hard code in the target class. Here I'm changing the bean ID. That is the reason I'm getting the feeling of loose coupling or not. That is the reason definitely we are getting the feeling of loose coupling or not. Yes. Someone is asking, sir, I don't want to use total XML at all in order to sort out this problem. Okay. to bring same effect without using Spring Bean configuration file. To bring same effect without using Spring Bean configuration file, we need to use Spring profiles. Spring profile is a separate discussion. I am going to introduce that one dynamically later. Spring profile. There is a concept called what? Spring profile. Right. I hope you are understanding my statement, guys. No, I don't want to use XML also. I don't want to use XML to solve this problem. Then there is a concept called Spring profiles. When I introduce Spring profile, then there is no need of touching XML also. There is no need of introducing XML itself. I hope you benefited with today's session, guys. What are the things we discussed in today's class? So default bean ID. First letter lowercase, class name as the default bean ID. Scope to specify Spring Bean scope. @lazy to disable pre-instantiation and to enable lazy instantiation. Lastly, what is most important thing is, in annotation driven environment, if you want to change from one dependent to another dependent, we are using qualifier, but we are touching the source code of our target class to change from one dependent to another dependent. In today's class, with the support of alias tag, how to change from one dependent to another dependent without touching the source code of target class I have shown. I hope you understood the benefit of alias tag, guys. Okay, don't worry. Please keep your mini project knowledge with you in your mind and come for tomorrow's class. Come for tomorrow's class. Come for tomorrow's class. Gaurav Chopra, Please follow the group. In the group React batch, new batch is announced. Arun Kumar, if you are using JDBC, you have to create the tables. If you are using ORM kind of tools, Hibernate kind of tools, JPA kind of tool, tables will be generated dynamically. Okay, na? Right, guys. Next one. Spring Boot will start within 10 days, boss. Don't worry about it. Yes. Okay, listen. Hibernate new batch next Monday, 9 o'clock. Hibernate new batch next Monday, 9 o'clock. Kruti, there is no need of taking properties file here. There is no without property file also we can solve the problem. There is no need of any property file here. If you are, you can link, but one more extra step. If you are interested, you can link property file, but one more extra step. Okay, listen carefully. Tomorrow, please recollect your mini project. Please recollect your mini project, because I am going to convert mini project of XML driven configurations to annotation driven configuration by applying @service, @repository, controller annotation. Because we learned annotation, now we have to apply annotation in project level. Are you understanding my statement, guys? Okay, guys. Thank you. Have a nice time. We'll meet tomorrow. Bipin Yadav, GUI in Spring means you have to wait until I launch Spring MVC.